House of Delegates member Nick Freitas running for Congress to try to take on Abigail Spanberger, the Democrat 7th District. They're going to choose their nominee on Saturday, July 18th. That's a week from tomorrow. They're going to choose it at a drive-in convention in Doswell, Virginia, where you drive and you put your ballot in. But it's not ranked choice now. It's going to be multiple ballots. So that's kind of weird. We're going to talk to Nick about that, how that really works. Are people going to sit there in a car for 6 hours in the heat if it's 100 degrees? What if they try to leave and come back and go have lunch or breakfast? I mean, how do you do this? We're going to find out. Also, Nick Freitas getting a favorable ruling from the State Board of Elections, SBE, earlier in the week on Tuesday, saying that he will indeed be on the ballot if he is the nominee. Also good news for Bob Good in the 5th District in Virginia. And he is joining us now, Nick Freitas. Great to have you with us, Nick.
Hey, thanks for having me on, John.
So my wife, Ann, just bought an AR-15. So she and when the campaign is, when the convention is over, she wants to come up. And I told her that Tina would train her.
Absolutely. I recommend an EOTech site if you're in the market.
So we're going to do that. We're going to put that on video. Tina's going to train Ann on the AR-15. That's a pretty big gun, bigger than she is. So we'll see how that works. But
it's
she's
lightweight, easy to handle. I think it's actually a great rifle for everybody, but I think it's a great rifle for women as well.
AR-15s for everybody. All right, Nick. I don't like conventions, but it is what it is. You have a convention on July 18th to determine who's going to be the nominee to go against Abigail Spanberger. But this is another one of these drive-bys, but it's not ranked choice, right? Now, I understand that it's, if you don't win on the first ballot, the bottom people drop off. You go to another ballot, and then it could be third ballot. Nick, people could be sitting in their cars in 100-degree heat for 7 hours. How are you guys going to navigate your way through that?
So that's not going to happen. We're not doing a drive up, all right? So it's a walk-in convention. So essentially, you drive, you park, you show your ID, you get your credentials, you go in and you vote, and then you can leave. You can come back if we need another one. There's all kinds of mechanisms that we have to let everybody know if there's going to be a second round of voting. But one of the reasons why they chose a walk-up is because they did want to avoid any sort of circumstance. Because unlike the 5th, we have multiple candidates. They wanted to prevent any sort of circumstance where someone would have to sit in their car for a long time. The good news is that there's going to be, from what I understand, there's going to be tents out there. There's going to be, things going on. So if people want to vote and then they want to stay, and the first round of voting is from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. So literally, someone can drive up on their way to work, cast a vote, and if for some reason we got to come back and vote again, maybe at noon or whatnot, they can come by on their lunch break. So they really are trying to make it. They're trying to make it as close to convention rules as possible, while at the same time understanding all the considerations with COVID lockdowns and the difficulties there. So no, I don't want anybody to think they're going to have to stay in their car for 6 hours and hopefully vote again. That's not the way it's going to be organized.
All right, so let me get this straight. The first round of voting, is it any time between 8 and 11 a.m. for everybody, or is it by town you live in, or is it just any 8 and 11? I mean, how does that work? Walk us through
8 to 11, provided that you've already pre-filed to be a delegate, regardless of what county you're from, between 8 to 11 a.m. Now, you got to be in line before 11. So if you get in line before 11 a.m., you can still vote. But after that, they got to close it off because we got to have a block there. So anytime between 8 and 11 a.m., you can show up for your first voting. Again, hopefully we'll be out of there with one ballot. The polling that we have looks pretty good, but it's still going to be close. So what we've been telling people to do is, look, just like for a normal convention, you block off your Saturday. If you can do that this time, that's good. Again, you don't got to hang around at the convention site the entire time like you normally would. You can go grab lunch. You can go do what you need to do. And then we'll certainly let people know, and I know some districts are going to let people know if there is going to be a second round of voting.
All right, so walk me through the logistics. So I'm not a delegate to the 7th. I live in District 4, but let's say I was. So I want to get there early. I don't want to be in the heat. So I get there at 8. I wait online. I show my credentials. I get a ballot. I vote on my ballot. I put it in the box. And the first round of voting is till 11. So I can hang out, talk to friends in the tent. But if I want to leave and go get something to eat, or I just want to get something done, I could do that. But how do I know when to go back? Like, how will I be notified that there's a second ballot, and how do I do that? Walk me through the logistics of that.
Sure. So you got a couple of different ways. Obviously, the 7th District Committee has its social media, its website. It can be putting out information on that. We're going to be. The other good thing about this is you've got 6 candidates that are all going to want you to, be informed. So between sending out text to delegates, updating stuff on social media, it's really as simple as, like you said, show up at 8. Get in line while it's still cool. Go vote, and then go off with the family. Do some shopping. Grab lunch. Check your phone. You'll probably get a text from whichever remaining candidates are there if you've got to come back and vote. Or you can just flip onto Facebook, check the page, and see whether or not you need to come back. So 8 to 11 is that first block. Now, it's a paper ballot, but they're going to run it through the electronic machine, so we should get our results back very, very quickly. We should know almost instantly what the breakdown is. And at that point, I imagine they're going to set another round. I don't know what the time are for that yet. It's probably going to be sometime from noon on. But at that point, again, you have plenty of time to get the information that you need, come back and vote again if necessary.
Well, the other way you can find out is by tuning into the John Fredericks Radio Network. We're going to be there covering it live, so we'll have all the updates for you. And depending on where you are, you can get us on WJFN AM 820, 92.7 FM in Richmond, or you can get us on WJFN FM 100.5 FM. So you got 3 options to get us depending on where you're driving around. Probably if you're in the Doswell area, I'm going to recommend either AM 820 or 100.5 FM. If you're going back to Richmond, then you can go to 92.7. Those are the 3 stations we're on, but we'll be there the whole day. We'll be giving everybody updates, so that's going to be the easiest thing to do is just turn us on the radio. I've got to get the details worked out with D7 Chairman Ben Sloan today, but Nick, we are planning on covering that to bring everybody the action all day, and we'll be out probably in one of those tents. Hopefully I can get it in an air-conditioned one, but we got to get all that worked out. So, all right. So people are going to be made to be comfortable. You can go, you can come back. In any campaign, this is why I hate conventions. So some people are going to leave, and then they get tied up and they can't come back, right? So, it is what it is. How do you guys keep your people there?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. And to your point, one of the things that we need people to understand with multi-ballot is if you vote the first time and we got to have a second round and you can't come back, that first vote does not transfer over. So
right.
It's a whole new round of voting that second time. So I think, I don't know what other campaigns are doing. I know that we're working right now on having something set up with some entertainment, drinks, food, things like that. So if people do want to stay, it's a comfortable environment for them to be there. And then obviously, again, there's plenty of stuff kind of within the vicinity if somebody wanted to get out and, like I said, do some shopping, grab some lunch, and then come back. But I have no doubt that a lot of campaigns are going to try to do everything they can to make sure that their people are comfortable on site so that they can keep their delegates there. Well,
we'll see how that works out, but this is why I hate conventions. This should have been a primary at the end of June. It already would have been settled. We've already would have had a candidate, and the people would have spoken, but now we have to go through this nonsense. But look, it is what it is. You have to play the hand that you're dealt, and so we'll see how it is going forward. John Fredericks Radio Network with Nick Freitas running for Congress. That'll be decided July 18th convention, Doswell. You'll be able to catch all the action on the John Fredericks Radio Network, God willing. Everything works out for everybody that day, and it's not too hot. Nick, let's get to a couple other issues. The John McGuire campaign, he's running second. That's the way we have it. And I think it's a 2-man race between yourself and McGuire. His campaign, led by very noted consultant Chris LaCivita, they've gone negative now on you. They got a lot of negative ads going out. Are you going to respond to any of these?
Well, we've responded in the sense that we've had to obviously defend ourselves from a lot of the accusations that are being made. Some of them are misrepresentations. Some of them, I would say, were just kind of flat out wrong. The frustrating thing here is I've always considered John a friend. Since he's been in the General Assembly, I've always been happy to help John whenever he's needed it. We've always gotten along well. We've talked about this race before. All of this started to happen and, said, hey, look, we both got each other's back regardless of who wins. And I don't know what happened. There's some polling that came out that showed that we were doing pretty well. And then he started attacking us. There was a PAC that supported me that put out a mailer against John. And I thought the mailer went too far. And so I publicly came out and I defended John because, again, he's a friend. That's what I thought was the appropriate thing to do. And next thing I know, he's dropping 5, 6 mailers. And I mean, they're just, I had no idea what a horrible human being I was until John McGuire started attacking me. So look, we'll respond by focusing on what it is, why we think we're the best candidate to be able to beat Abigail Spanberger. But no, I don't want to, I'm tired of the circular firing squad within the Republican Party. And what people are going to have to decide, what Republicans are going to have to decide, is not only what candidate they want to take on Abigail Spanberger, they're going to have to decide what sort of campaigning tactics do they want to reward. Because if someone gets in there and trashes another Republican and then wins as a result, well, then expect every other Republican to do it in the future. And so it's frustrating to watch John do this, but yeah, I don't know. I guess he's got to run the race. I mean, you and I, we understand campaigns. John has been saying that he's way ahead in the delegate count, that he's winning this thing. And my response to that is, well, then why are you going on the attack against a fellow Republican? Mm-hmm. If you're really winning, there's no need to drop $10,000, $20,000 on negative advertising. My campaign has not sent out a single negative mailer about John McGuire, and we have no intention to do so. Mm-hmm. We're going to focus on why we think we're the best to take on Spanberger, because that's who I'm running against, Abigail Spanberger, not John McGuire. I want John and I to be friends after this.
If your analysis shows that you've got more delegates and you have the best chance to win on the first or second, or even if it's a third ballot, then going negative on one of the other candidates doesn't make any sense. The other problem with that is in a convention atmosphere, when you go negative, here's the problem. If you infuriate one of the candidate's supporters by going negative, they're not going to vote for you. Let's say, it were to come down to John McGuire and Tina Ramirez, and you go negative on Nick Freitas, and for some reason you're eliminated. Well, then all the Nick Freitas supporters are not going to vote for McGuire. Tina becomes a nominee. I mean, I have seen that in these stupid conventions, so you have to be careful with that. But look, I guess McGuire's behind, I would think. I mean, we offered, as you know, Nick, we offered to put a debate on the radio, and of course my debates have nothing to do with the moderator. We would have made Chris Saxman, the moderator from Virginia Free, but where the candidates ask all the questions, and you take all the bias out of it. It's just between the 4 or 5 candidates, and the other campaigns agreed. Your campaign agreed. Tina's campaign agreed. Andrew's agreed. The McGuire campaign wouldn't. They would not go forward with a debate, and I just didn't want to create a spectacle, so we dropped it. But I was kind of shocked at that, because if you're not winning and you're going negative, you would think you'd want to debate, right?
Yeah, you would. I mean, that's a chance to get out there. And the way that I understand the setup was each candidate got to ask the other candidates questions, and then they had to receive questions in turn. Yeah. And so, like you said, it's not a moderator trying to manipulate the process in favor of one candidate or next. It's really each candidate getting to ask what's on their mind and then receive those questions. And you would think if I'm everybody's bad and a fake Republican like McGuire's claiming, then you would think he'd want an opportunity to be able to do that on the radio in a debate forum. But then again, he'd have to answer my questions. And so again, I'm always fine with debates. I like the battle of ideas. That's why I got into politics in the first place. It's not that I love politics, but I do hate to see what's going on in our country right now, and it's going to require someone to be able to go out there and effectively not just vote the right way and legislate the right way, but effectively articulate the conservative message. Because this isn't just a political struggle we're in, this is a cultural one. And you see what the left is doing all over this country right now. And I'll tell you the biggest contrast we see is when you see all the problems that are happening, when you see riots, not protests, when you see riots, when you see looting, when you see problems within our education system, problems within keeping safety in our communities, it's not happening in Republican areas. It's happening in areas Democrats have controlled for decades. Seattle, Minneapolis, Milwaukee, Detroit, Chicago, Richmond. Richmond's had one Republican mayor from 1988 to 1990. For 2 years, there was one Republican mayor in Richmond. The further back you have to go to find a Republican mayor, you have to go all the way back to 1868. So Democrats have been promising people in these cities forever that if you just put us in charge, give us the power, we'll make your lives better, we'll fix the schools, we'll make sure your community's safe. And guess what? They have failed decade after decade after decade. And we have a unique opportunity here to look at a lot of people within the cities and urban areas and say, what have you got to lose trying something different? Trying an approach that doesn't give the government more power over your lives, but gives you more power over your life. And I think that's a winning message going into November, and it's certainly the one that the president is talking about right now.
Certainly the race against Abigail Spanberger, regardless of who the nominee is, Nick Freitas with us is going to be very, very tough. She's got a lot of money. She's a great candidate. She's got a kind of a juggernaut going on there. I've rated her as probably the best Democratic candidate in any Trump district in the United States. So it's going to be a tough campaign, but the problem that Abigail has, Nick, that all the Democrats have now, is they cannot run away from the left-wing mob mentality. They can't do it, because if they do, they will get absolutely skewered on social media, and there'll be a third-party candidate pops up, right? They're held hostage by the left-wing squad mob and by the rioters and the looters and those that want to get rid of police and I don't know what they want, eat radishes out of the garden or something. I have no idea what they want, but they're basically held hostage by them. And she's never going to come out during this campaign and say anything negative about any of the left-wing crackpot things that are going on. So she's kind of stuck now. And I think if you're the nominee, you've got an opportunity to have her thoroughly debate that.
Well, she put herself in a position where she really advertised herself as a problem-solving moderate. That's what she advertised herself as. And then when she got up to D.C., and again, I have no problem with Abigail on a personal level, but I do have a problem with anybody that campaigns one way and then votes completely different. And when you're voting with Nancy Pelosi 92% of the time, and here's the most interesting fun fact that we've seen so far about Abigail Spanberger's voting record, is that a group called 538, which is a left of center think tank, they do data analysis. We were looking at this a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to name off 5 Democrats that have voted in line with President Trump more than Abigail Spanberger: Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. All of them have voted more in line with the president than Abigail Spanberger has. Look, call yourself whatever you want, but if you were voting to the left of AOC on a number of these issues, then no, you're not a moderate. So just be honest about what you are. But Abigail is smart enough to know that if she gets out there and she really talks about what she wants to do, because her idea of solving problems is giving Washington, D.C. more power and more control. And if she campaigns on that, she loses, and she knows it. When she ran against Dave, she didn't have a voting record. Now she does. Now we get to see what she actually did versus what she says. And you're absolutely right. She's going to have a real problem, because she's either going to make the extreme left wing of her base very, very mad, and she absolutely needs them, or she's going to make all the moderates that were willing to give her an opportunity mad when they become exposed to what she actually did in D.C.
Well, that is where she's going to have to be accountable. I look forward to your campaign. Nick Freitas, I believe you are going to win on Saturday. I think you've got more delegates than John McGuire has, and when you have more delegates, you win. And I'm only going to get caught in this trap once. I got caught in it in the 5th district, where the Denver Riggleman people didn't have the delegates that Bob Good had. They kept telling me about weighted numbers, and their people were going to show and the other people weren't going to show. And I kind of fell in that trap. But I tell you this, I'd rather be the candidate going into the convention, as much as I hate them, with more delegates than the other guy. I think if you have
yes.
more delegates, you got a better chance of winning. John Fredericks Radio Network. Thank you, Nick Freitas. Go to nickfreitas.com.